Welcome to the Just Being Petty show. I am A.W. Petty, your host. So, either in the introduction to the JBP show or episode 1 or 2, I talked about a segment that I wanted to do periodically, and it's called Petty is Pissed. And it's issues that have been on my mind that I don't think garnered enough attention, that I think the Republicans lied about, and I don't think the Democrats pushed it enough to explain the actual truth. And the deal that I'm talking about is the thing that's pissing me off is this Iran nuclear deal that Obama uh, did with Iran. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this and all the misconceptions and explain everything and explain how the Republicans were lying. And then I will see you on the other end. So this report came from the Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation. So this is an accurate report. So it's about the Iran nuclear deal, correcting misconceptions. So misconception one is that the Iran deal included a U.S. payment of $150 billion to Iran, as though Obama just took $150 billion from the Treasury and from the taxpayers and gave it to him. That's not the case. So here are the facts. The money that Iran received from complying with the agreement is not a direct payment from the U.S. government. Instead, the funds are Iranian foreign assets, which the international sanction regime prevented Iran from accessing under the JCPOA. These nuclear-related sanctions were waived after Iran verifiably completed its initial obligations. The $150 billion figure is also inaccurate. The amount of money Iran could access from these foreign reserves is about $100 billion. Of this amount, about half of it is tied up in Iranian foreign debt, as Treasury Secretary Jacob Law testified before Congress. The actual amount that Iran would be able to use is about $50 billion. Misconception two, the Iran deal included a ransom payment for hostages. And here are the facts. After implementation of the Iran deal, the United States sent $1.7 billion to Iran. Some are now claiming this was a ransom payment for the return of American citizens that were being held hostage by Iran. Lisa Gross, a legal advisor for the Department of State, testified before Congress that the $1.7 billion was comprised of $400 million that Iran had placed in a U.S. foreign military sales trust fund and $1.3 billion in interest. At the time of the Iran deal negotiations, the United States and Iran were involved in a legal arbitration case over the amount of interest the U.S. owed on this fund. As for the fact that the payment coincided with the hostages release, Susan Maloney of the Brookings Center explains that the settlement and the prisoners' release were two separate channels. Once the settlement of the claim was determined, the U.S. simply did not issue payment until the separately negotiated prisoners' release was completed. Lies all day long, and the Democrats don't push it. They don't push back on it. So misconception three, breakout time, is the time needed to develop a nuclear bomb. Here are the facts. Under the JCPOA, Iran's breakout time is evaluated to be at least 1 year, but there is an important distinction between the breakout time and the amount of time needed to develop a credible nuclear weapon. A country's breakout time is the time required to produce enough weapons-grade uranium or plutonium for highly enriched uranium, 90% or more of enrichment. However, even if Iran had the required amount and enrichment level of uranium for a nuclear bomb, it would still need time to develop a viable weapon. This includes miniaturizing a nuclear weapon to be attached to a missile and producing a missile that functions accurately and reliably. Both of these developments are challenging and time-consuming. Furthermore, one untested nuclear weapon is not enough for a credible deterrent. So, and I don't know what the Republicans were saying about that, but what I will say about that is the deal that that 10-point deal Trump made the other day It had none of that in there. It was like, yeah, you can keep making enriched uranium. You can do it. We don't care. So they didn't even have that in that deal. But I digress. So the number 4 misconception, Iran deal stopped Iran's nuclear program. The facts. The objective of the JCPOA was to verifiably constrain Iran's nuclear program and impede progress toward a nuclear weapon. However, the agreement does not permit Iran to keep a comparatively small amount of monitored low enriched uranium. Thus, their Iran deal does not extinguish all Iranian nuclear activity, but constrains and restricts Iran's ability to obtain a nuclear weapon. So those are the facts right there. Like I said, this came from the Center for Armed Control's Non-Proliferation. But these are the facts. And if you listen to the Republicans, they're going to just tell you, and I'm not sure that they got into all the other misconceptions, but I know the main point for them was to say he gave them $100 billion as though it came from the United States, the taxpayers, and the Treasury. That is not the fact. And this is one of the issues that pissed me off. And this is one of the issues that I wanted to talk about. And so this is where we are with this deal. And if you look up on the screen, you could see where we are. If you compare them both, you can see where we are right now, what Obama did and what this goofball is trying to do and can't do because he's the worst negotiator ever. He's just a terrible negotiator. So that's where we are with this deal. And I wanted to kind of get that to you guys because these things bother me when I keep hearing these guys on all of these right-leaning programs. They keep talking about Obama gave them $150 billion, as though, like I said, it came from the taxpayers or the Treasury or whatever. That is not the case. And Democrats have to start explaining every day, twice on Sunday when these guys lie. They just have to do that. And for whatever reason, I just don't understand why they won't do it. But if you like the show, hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps with me or we growing this channel. And it really means a lot to me. So I will see you guys up the road.